Well, hello folks, it's time for another DVD and Blu-ray update here on good old YouTube. And we picked up quite a few, or I did, picked up quite a few DVDs and Blu-rays today. Starting to sound like Sean McClane now. Hey, I'm a big fan of Zarek, so do check out his stuff. He does. Very smart guy. He knows what he's talking about. Well, this month we picked up quite a few. Even though I did have these titles once before, or some of them. And, well, I'll explain it as I go along. First up, went to Big Lots. Got a couple titles. First one here is Adam Sandler's film Punch Drunk Love, written and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. And this is a nice addition, actually. The story's about this guy. He's kind of weird, strange. He's socially impaired. He owns a small business. And it's about him and ending up in a relationship, and he takes a few people off, and it's not your typical Adam Sandler movie because it's actually kind of it's a romantic comedy, really, and it's different for Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler, I'm not the biggest fan of. I like a handful of his movies. But anymore, a lot of stuff he turns out is nothing but crap. Let's be honest. Zookeeper, come on. You gotta be honest. That is like one of the stupidest movies ever conceived. And next one I picked up at Big Lots is Robert Altman's Nashville. And it's definitely a movie of the 70s because it does take place in the country music capital of the world, Nashville, Tennessee. Matter of fact, it's filmed there. They used the Ryman Auditorium. And some of these singers in this movie are really bad. That was one of the criticisms I guess they got from the people at Nashville, the actual country music musicians. They really ridiculed it. Goes, man, you had some terrible people singing in this movie. Well, you have people like Keith Carradine, he sings, Henry Gibson sings, Karen Black sings. It's an interesting, it's more about, it's a combination of country music and politics, is what this is about. The story is that there's this legendary country music singer who voices his opinion about the he's apparently voiced his opinion about politics. He's neither Democrat nor Republican. He's kind of in the middle, like where people are tending to go to today, with, like, say, the Tea Party movement. But he mixes his music with his politics, and people like what he says. And there's I guess there's threats on his life and so on and so forth. Now, on to the Blu-rays. Now, all of these I had in my DVD, all my collection as DVDs. One of them I still own on DVD, and there's a reason why. And I will get to that momentarily. The first two, I took part in the Best Buy Upgrade and Save program, which is you bring in any copy of any movie on DVD, any movie, any DVD copy. You bring it into the store, and you hand it to the customer service desk, and if they accept it, they give you a $5 coupon off of any select titles. And I, of course, wanted to upgrade titles that they had, that both they had approved of, and titles that I had in my collection. Just want to upgrade them to Blu-ray. First one is The Dark Knight. Now there's no slipcover, so you see the Joker's ha-ha-ha's written all over it. And he's completely rewritten the synopsis, or he's edited it, which is an interesting read, even though it's not Heath Ledger doing that part. But yeah, I wanted to upgrade this from my old DVD copy and get the Blu-ray, which is really nice because I did really want to get this on Blu-ray a long time ago, because this is the only way that you can get the full experience. Of course, it has the famous going back and forth between the 35mm footage and the IMAX footage, which is really cool, in which they did the same thing for Tron Legacy, but that was on all media, Blu-ray and DVD, so there was nothing lost there. We have The Dark Knight. Now, there was something else I want to say about that. Oh yeah, is the bonus features. I mean, there's some interesting stuff on there, but I was a little disappointed that they didn't have enough of the Joker. I mean, they had a lot of stuff about the IMAX, and which was cool. I mean, about, the shooting IMAX. It was the first Hollywood movie shot using IMAX cameras. Even though there have been Hollywood movies released in IMAX, but they're converted. They're basically put in, they're panned and scanned. And however, the directors are misled into approving that, even though they've wanted to get away from panning and scanning for years. I don't understand it. Next film is Twister. Now, I had an old, the copy I traded in was an old Warner Brothers clam case, the one that's made out of mostly cardboard, and it had the flipper, which is always catching on the stuff. Personally, that's what I prefer that they would go to instead of this. This has just got to stop. I'm sorry, this eco bull crap. Now the film, it looks okay on Blue. It's not as good as what it could be. It looks very good, but it's not as good as what they could be, because when this edition came out, it was on HD DVD exclusive. And so usually if it's been on HD DVD, they're taking from those HD DVD master files and just bringing them out on Blu-ray. Now, one interesting thing is that it has a whole lot more documentaries, and plus original documentaries that were on the old Warner Home Video DVD, like the commentary's the same. HBO First Look, that's the same. Van Halen, it's Van Hagar music video, theatrical trailers, and The Anatomy of a Twister. Those are the original bonus features. However, it does come with two new documentaries. One is Chasing the Storm, Twister Revisited, which they reunite the cast and crew that worked on the film, and they talk about it, being, when was this put out? being, I'm gonna guess 15 years old, and they talk about it, and how difficult it was, and what a big hit it was, and blah 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 blah. And the other thing is this History Channel documentary, Nature Tech, on tornadoes, which is featured on here. Interesting little piece about about that documentary is they do a whole thing about tornadoes and how unpredictable they are, and they talk about the 2003 or 2002, when was it? 2002 Van Wert, Ohio tornado that went through the town of Van Wert, Ohio, and just demolished everything. The interesting thing is, I live in Indiana. I live in a small town called Hartford City. And that same tornado, because I remember this, that same tornado took out our Marsh store, took out the north wall of the Marsh store, and I was working next door at a KFC when that hit. And what's interesting is, in the documentary, my hometown is mentioned in this documentary on this Blu-ray. So that was, wow, I mentioned on Hartford City is mentioned on a official Blu-ray release. Now the last one. This one is the granddaddy of them all. Now this particular Blu-ray, I was a little disappointed in. But it does have some decent quality to it. It is not throwawayable. It is very nicely done. And it is the Diamond Edition of The Lion King. This one, I did not trade in my old DVD copy on. Reason being that, because usually Disney, when they do this, they have been putting the old DVD features onto the new Blu-ray release. The Lion King, it is available, but as a BD Live feature only. It's not on the disc. So which means that your Blu-ray player is going to have to be connected to the internet. And let's say if you're taking this on the go, you have no internet access, guess what? You want to watch that feature? Forget about it. It's not available to you. However, the quality of this film, it's top-notch. Disney has yet to disappoint on the overall look of a film. They do a top-notch job. And, all these Disney Blu-rays, they have some bling-bling to them. Look at that. The Diamond Edition. Yeah. And it's very nicely done. I will say that there is some interesting new documentaries on the film, where they reunite most of the cast, like Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick, which I don't think a lot of people knew that Matthew Broderick was the voice of young Simba. Not young Simba, but old Simba, adult Simba. They didn't get Jonathan Taylor Thomas, though, who was young Simba. But they did not do him for some reason. There's archived video of him in the recording studio, but there's no new interview or anything like that. The only thing that he's really done recently was the interview with Entertainment Weekly, which I saw, and how they thought it was strange how he just disappeared off the map. And well, I don't blame him for just disappearing. But it's a nice transfer, and what's, like I said, interesting documentaries all about the making. And there's actually two. There's one about the overall making, from all the animators to the studio heads, animators, studio heads, voice talent, and all the way to the Broadway show. And it's really good. Now, the second documentary is a memoir from Don Hahn, who is the producer of the film. And he talks about his life at the time and how life-changing it was for him, and that the movie could have been an easy failure because at the time Disney when they came out with The Lion King, they realized they were making hits at the time left and right, and they said, you know what, you guys can set up a B team and make kind of a throwaway movie, a movie that's it's anything you want, and we'll pay for it, and we won't get hurt on it. And they eventually made it, but then once they started putting the story together, they realized, oh my gosh, we've really got something here, because people, right after Aladdin was released, they immediately wanted to go towards Pocahontas. I mean, all the animators were going to say, go Pocahontas, go Pocahontas. Because no one wants to worry on this lion movie, so let's go work on Pocahontas. But then when they started working on the story, they realized, oh, maybe there's something here worth keeping. And then all the A-team came back to help, basically took over and said that this is going to be our next film. We'll put Pocahontas in development, and we'll work on this one, finish it up. And they put it out. Turns out it's the #1 animated film of all time. And there was a real struggle going through it because they had constant fighting between some of the animators' ideas. Even Elton John was furious at one point because he was brought on very early on. And apparently there was going to be an alternate version to Can You Feel the Love Tonight? And he got real upset about it because apparently in the alternate version, Timon and Pumbaa was going to sing the whole song. And he got really ticked at that. As a matter of fact, he went to a screening where they had that in, and he turned around to the directors and said, I think you've ruined the movie. No, he said, you just ruined the movie. And he said the next day, Jeffrey Katzenberg was on the phone, and Elton John was screaming. But anyway, they got it all worked out, and it's what it is. Another thing about this Blu-ray is that it has just the theatrical release alone. It does not have the 2002 IMAX version. However, that scene is available as a deleted scene feature, which was included in the IMAX version. However, if you want to see that version, you stick with this version. And plus, there's all this other documentary stuff that's included. Yeah, and this was a pretty decent edition when it came out in 2003. But if you want the best in picture and sound, I mean, high definition, 7.1 DTS, you can't go wrong. Well, that's DVDs and Blu-rays for this month of October. And I'm waiting on next month. Waiting on November, because around November 22nd, Super 8 comes out. That's when I'm going to get that. Hook or crook, I'm getting Super 8. So from me to you, see you later. Oh, and by the way, You notice the time? I finally figured out how to get past that 15-minute block.